I think it's unfortunate that it's taken a lot of people to lose their lives to like addictions and certain domestic violence things and stuff like that. To get to that point to realize, wait a minute, we all need to kind of wake up a little bit that we're experiencing this baggage that really hasn't been unpacked.
Hi, I'm Lance, and this is Unsilent, a speak series by No Stigmas that champions mental health advocacy and challenges the stigmas that all too often prevent people from getting the help they need. We're so glad you're here. In today's episode, we get to know Brittany, who's a passionate mental health advocate and writer, with mental health challenges including borderline personality disorder and obsessive compulsive disorder. In today's second part of our two-part conversation with Brittany, she starts to open up about her turning point, how she started to really find herself in her writing, and how she has learned to live with her disorders. Brittany shares what it's like to be living in recovery with her disorders, but also what it's like to have advocacy show up in her life and what she feels has been helpful to her, and sometimes, more importantly, what she feels has not been helpful. We know these conversations are always tough to have, but we thank Brittany so much for opening up to us today. And remember to check out part one of our two-part conversation with Brittany to get to know more about her and her background. All right, let's dive in.
It's been kind of difficult because I think, as we know, insurance and finances kind of are a struggle with some people like myself. So it's kind of, I feel difficult to get the resources that I've needed. So I've kind of had to kind of go with what I could get sometimes for therapy versus going to like a specialized individual. And then like a few friends, that have kind of stepped up when I was like feeling like I was just dragging myself across the floor pretty much. Kind of like a helpless position to be in. Sometimes I get like that. I'm just helpless. I feel like the whole world's sitting on me, and I just throw my hands up in the air. So I've had a few friends, step in and try to read about, borderline personality disorder, and they've learned about it, and then they have learned that some of their friends had it, and so it kind of developed a circle of awareness, I guess. So for me, with my heightened emotions that I experience and feeling often dysregulated a lot of the times, I feel that, touch or a hug um, has helped me kind of, all right, I'm safe. I'm just letting myself, get out of control with this. I'm safe. So I feel that, like that touch or that hug, or to just even hear that word of you're safe, you're okay, has been helpful. What hasn't been helpful is isolating. Also, of course, when I refer to dysfunctional family, I refer, to my family, and I refer that it's been challenging. I don't like it to be this way, but I feel as though it's not helpful to fight it alone, and I feel as though because of my behavior, or I should say my anger from things, it hasn't really served me well with my family. So that's kind of another reason they express to me they're not so close to me, but I feel as though having a educated family on these diagnoses would have been helpful, and also to advocate and to find resources and reach out to your clinicians would have been helpful. So that way you were kind of all on the same page of understanding of how different internal families' contributions of behaviors can affect each individual in the family. So I feel that would have been helpful. What hasn't been helpful, I've experienced relationships where my OCD tendencies annoyed the heck out of that individual. And sometimes it caused arguments. And in those arguments, they would attack my OCD tendencies. Okay, well, you don't like shoes in the house. Well, I'm going to go bang them in mud and, tap them all over the house and the walls because I know that will, exacerbate your anxiety. So that's not helpful when, you're your rituals may not make sense to someone else, uh, but those rituals that are in your mind feel very real to a person with OCD. And I'm not saying they're right or they're wrong. It's just those feel very real to a person who has those intrusive thoughts or have those thoughts to begin with. So, not feeling judged is very helpful. And of course, it may not again look normal to someone else, but not feeling judged and just having that safe place that you feel you can, and that's, I guess, a safe place is different for everyone. Because you could go to a certain place and have five triggers because of the environment that you're being exposed to. So it's I think that's a very variable situation. So I was going through like a mental crisis where I actually ran away from my house. My house no longer felt safe to me. I was having these OCD tendencies with phobia of death. My cousin Matt just had recently passed away at a young age, and I felt like this spiraling anxiety that I was just running in circles and couldn't get out. So I ran away from my house um, in 2019, and I went to my grandmother's, about a half hour away. It's more like country like. And, I feel that a person with trauma can have a lot of repressed memories that if they're not in a safe spot or they don't feel safe, those repressed memories are just going to keep like repressed. So I ran away to my grandmother's house, and, it took me a week or so to kind of calm my nervous system down. And I started, thinking of different ways that I could, like, I don't know, educate people. I just wanted to tell more people about everything. And so I was sleeping one night, and I'd woken up at 4 in the morning, and I was thinking about, my life kind of like on a movie reel. And this song, Piece by Piece by Kelly Clarkson, was playing on my phone at 4 in the morning. And it basically, if you don't know that song, it talks about Kelly Clarkson's dad. And so I started like crying, and I just like got this, I don't know, this feeling to write a book. And I'm like, me write a book? Like I've had other jobs. This is kind of weird. Why am I having this thought? So I started writing, and I go for like long soul searching walks, and I go for like long soul searching walks, and I'd go down and sit at the boat launch and cry and just kind of think about what I was gonna write. And I'd go down to the corner stores, like a country like town, and so I go to the country store down at the corner, and I'd sit at a picnic table inside and kind of just eat a piece of pizza and just kind of just let it out and write. And so I finally got to the day. I'm like, this is it. I'm gonna publish this, and I don't know if I should though, because it talks about personal things, with my family. I don't want to embarrass them. No, I've got to do this. So I finally published it. I found through another acquaintance, rather, where she was able to do like free publishing, because of course I don't have a lot of money. And so I went on this publisher, lulu.com, and I submitted the manuscript, and there it was published. And so then I started kind of like expanding a little bit, and I'm like, I want to write more. And then I started writing poetry, and then I created my own website to get more information out there. But my memoir that I created is called Healing the Light Within Me, My Inner Child, because I just feel like all of us that are brought into this world, we have this essence in our heart, this light in our heart, and sometimes things can tear that essence apart. And so yeah, so I published the book, and kind of just expanded from there. Well, I had my first book signing event after my grandmother died at a flower shop. And a couple women were like, they stopped by my table that the owner of the flower shop let me borrow his little table because I came all unprepared. It's my first thing, and so these women were looking at the book, and the lady's like, "I'm gonna buy this," and yet I noticed she had like the older gentleman like lingering around her. So I remembered, what he looked like, and they left. And then about an hour later, I'm still sitting there, and the guy comes back, and he's like, "I just have to tell you," he's like, "I picked up your book that my wife bought, and wow," he's like, "I noticed that I have, some OCD and some abandonment and stuff like that." He's like, "I want to buy your book," and I was like, "Thank you, like you didn't have to come back." And so he bought my book, The Rise Above Radio. Um, that's a online radio station that I created. So basically, I uploaded each musical file to it so it plays, and it's all this music that I found over the years with my mental illness. Some kind of make you want to cry, some make you want to laugh, some kind of give you that encouragement or power to kind of keep going. So Rise Above basically came from a time that I was basically so crippled and debilitated by OCD and my emotions and all of that. And I was sitting in the house one day, and I'm like, I've got to do something because I can't just watch my life pass me by like this. And so I just started like researching different things and getting ideas from other people. And I've also on Rise Above have had some interviews on there with a therapist that talked about body dysmorphic disorder, some other people that have like lived experience with mental illness. So I guess it's just another tool that I wanted to put out there to kind of educate or give information, and also with a little bit of a musical twist to it. Well, let me just say it's not just a click of a finger. It's not easy, and it's not painless. It's not painless by any means. It's almost as I would kind of pinpoint like a snake shedding its skin. That's a painful process for a snake. So basically, it's kind of like unlearning the behaviors, and it's also um, unlearning the behaviors, and also kind of lose. I don't want to say losing a part of you, but kind of living like in a whole another world in a sense, because you're kind of you become more awakened, you become more aware, I think, when you learn and you realize where, okay, A plus B equals C. Okay, well, so my grandmother, she didn't like chaos, and she had a lot of chaos in her house with her parents arguing. So then she would learn to laugh and make everybody laugh at the table, because she felt that was her job, is to make everybody laugh. So then she developed people pleasing behaviors, and then she had kids of her own, and then now her kids had their kids of their own, me. So I think A plus B equals C. So I feel like a lot of the behaviors get passed on, and I think not even realizing. So it's not, oftentimes it might not even be intentionally done. So it's a lot of learning, and you know I got to the point where I got aggravated with my family, because I'm like, listen, I felt kind of like attacked, or I felt judged, like they just kept calling me crazy and that I belong in a mental institute and all this stuff. And I'm like, but wait a minute, let's back up a little bit. I want you to be more aware that, you develop these behaviors, you pass these behaviors, and then they just keep going on and on and on and on. And, and so realizing, the different things that happen to us and the experiences in our life, I feel kind of affect all parts of our brain, how we respond, our fight to flight, the amygdala and hippocampus in the brain. So everything, I feel kind of, it just becomes like part of us, I guess what I'm saying. So like I've tried explaining like generational trauma, ancestral trauma, I say to my grandmother, and because of her generation, they didn't have a lot of education back then. So they, didn't deal with traumas like the right way, in a sense, or correct them or learn a different way of behaving to create a healthy environment, I guess. And so it kind of, lingered on. Um, and I think, in today's society, I think that, I feel like it's becoming known more. A lot of people experiencing homelessness, addictions, I feel like it's improving, but it's not quite there yet, all around. So, like, for example, back in the day when I'd go to the bathroom in high school, there wouldn't be positive messages all over the walls. I've gone to like an event for my siblings, and I went in the bathroom one day, and there was all these like positive encouragement and all over the walls and stuff. So I think it's getting there, but it's not. So I just feel um, I think it's unfortunate that it's taken a lot of people to lose their lives for like addictions and certain domestic violence things and stuff like that. To get to that point to realize, wait a minute, we all need to kind of wake up a little bit that we're experiencing this baggage that really hasn't been unpacked for a while.
To go beyond the show, be sure to connect with us on all social media platforms at No Stigmas, and you can always reach out at nostigmas.org to connect with us and see how we can team up together to champion mental health equity for all. Remember, to break these stigmas, we must be unsilent. We'll see you next time.